So since we launched Fight the Fines a week ago, we've had, I think, 11 cases present so far, and 9 of them are pretty legit. So far, we have 4 cases that have gone through that process I described. We've had a lawyer interview them, our reporters talk to them, we made a video, we've taken the case, and the others are in the process. I'd like to show you some snippets of the 4 cases we've taken first. Each of them is frustrating in its own way, and I want to ask you, does the policing look like Canada or a bit more like Russia or Iran or, China? Here's our very first case. It was a pastor who was feeding the homeless in Calgary.
This is not an event. This is not your picnic in a neighborhood for the fun of it. We are providing necessities of life to those that you and your bosses refuse to provide. You got all kinds of events happening right now, and yet the Calgary's finest are not bothering them. This is the hypocrisy of this city. This is the hypocrisy of our wonderful, fearless leaders. Where is Naheed Nimshi, the mayor of this city?
Can you guys do respectful social distance?
He's allowed to
stand back from you a little bit. I need 8 feet.
Whoa.
I need 8 feet. Stand back. Okay?
Or what?
Stand
You're
back.
gonna threaten me and abuse me?
Hey, guys,
Do not do
6
that.
feet.
Tell him not
6
to
feet
touch
away.
me.
6 feet away for
Back up
everybody.
now.
That's for everybody.
That client, Arthur, makes a good point. This wasn't a fun picnic. This wasn't like when you invite friends over for a lark. This wasn't a social event. This was a feed the homeless project. It wasn't optional. It was essential. It wasn't a party. It was feeding people who were too marginal even to be allowed in the homeless shelter for whatever reason. And they sent a dozen cops, and that one cop pushing them. Okay, here's the second case. This is a man who had police come to his private house and demand to know how many people were having dinner.
You guys have to disassemble.
We're practicing our freedom of religion. They can't come against our religion.
But we'll come back then, give you another ticket.
I don't care. That's fine. I'm not paying it. You can tell your supervisor that too.
How did they know how many people were having dinner at his house? Were they spying on him? How do you feel about that, cops coming to your house like that? How would you feel? Here's another case. This one frustrated me so much.
Some measures put in place, I guess, on the 3rd with the Eastern Ontario Health Unit, some guidelines. And the officer popped into our business. It would have been the 5th of April when he popped in, late in the afternoon, to inform us that we weren't in compliance with the new rules that were laid out by EOHU, Eastern Ontario Health Unit. And immediately we begun reading over the document that he left us. He had told us that he's not going to be issuing a fine at this time. He would allow us a little while to read over things and put these measures into place, which would be the plexiglass and the arrows on the floor for social distancing. So he wasn't going to fine us until he spoke it over with Dr. Paul Remoliotis at the Eastern Ontario Health Unit, and they would determine whether a fine would be put in place. However, the officer come back within the hour, and he fined us $880.
Look at those two. They're just shell-shocked. First they were robbed, and the cops didn't seem to care about that. And then the cops come by, tell them to put up that plexiglass thing and the tape or whatnot, but then they came back in less than an hour to fine them. No discretion, no common sense, just punishing 2 hardworking citizens. I'm so angry about that, aren't you? And then our 4th one. We just released this morning. Take a look at this. It's crazy.
I brought her out to do her business, and I was out here maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes. I came back to the back door. I don't use the elevator because I don't want to run into any people, to the 3rd floor. And I got to the 3rd door. There were 2 policemen standing in front of my apartment with masks on, like yourself, and They had the ticket already made out. They whipped it out like Matt Dillon and handed it to me. $880. I was just outraged. I didn't go downtown Walmart. I didn't go downtown Sarnia. I didn't go anywhere. Just out here to this parking lot to let my dog do her business. As a matter of fact, if you and I were to go in the back door right now and we walk up to the 3rd floor, I can guarantee you we won't run into anybody because they want to use the elevator, and I don't use the elevator, just for the specific purpose of not running into anybody.
So that senior citizen, I think he's a senior, he's living on his own in an apartment. He says he never leaves his room other than to walk the dog for a bit. He takes the stairs down so he doesn't bump into anyone else in the elevator. They all take the elevator. So he takes the dog out to the parking lot for a pee, and then he goes back into his apartment. What are the cops saying here? That he literally cannot leave his house ever? And how about his dog? Is he not allowed to take his dog out to do his business? Where should his dog go pee? In the apartment? If so, is this being done in the name of health? I bet it was that Trump hat, I bet that's why he got the ticket. So those are our first 4 cases, each one more frustrating than the next. We have a bunch more that we're working on, some faster than others, and we're getting more every day through our complaints form. I see the complaints as they come in. I can hardly wait to show you some of them, but I want to make sure we do it right. It's bad right now. I think this is important work, and it's work that the official people aren't doing. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association is literally throwing up its hands in the air and not taking a single case. Seriously, guys, why not just shut down? The name is false advertising. It's not the first time we've acted as a civil liberties group because no one else would. We've been fighting for freedom of speech, often alone in court. No allies from the Civil Liberties Association, the Canadian Association of Journalists, Canadian Journalists for Free Expression, Reporters Without Borders. They've never once lifted a finger. And you know what? That's fine. I think we're doing okay on our own. I think we're doing something important, and if you agree, well, please help us out. We're paying our lawyers, not a ton, but enough to get them working hard and fast. You can go to fightthefines.com to chip in, and almost every day we'll have a new case that we put up on that website. That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.